Vary behind me.
Yeah, take your time. What's she up to? All right, let me get chat open here so I can see
Let's be back.
You back?
Back.
What's Valerie up to? Okay, we're all set. We're all set.
We're gonna go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hear the tunes. You have a great show.
Thank you.
Come with us on a journey into the unknown, the unexplained, and the unbelievable. We will test your senses and challenge your beliefs. A world where science and religion clash. Or do they? You will meet real people and hear real stories, but you will not believe. You will witness strange sights and hear strange sounds, but you will not believe. This is the New England Ghost Project. Welcome to the nightmare.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ghost Chronicles Pub Edition. I am Ron Kolick, your host, and with me is the Scotsman himself, Stephen Scott.
Hi, Ron. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, unfortunately, Stephen Parsons got in an accident on the way to the pub, so he won't be joining us tonight. More beer for us. I don't know who is worse, the English or the Scots, as far as drinking, because we're holding the World Cup here, and there's the what do you call it? The English, they went in Texas and they drank up all the beer and they had to actually throw them out of the pubs, and then the same thing happened here in Boston with the Scots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the difference, well, being Scottish, the difference is in how the fans behave. That's always been the main difference.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, you get good and bad fans on both sides, but but the Scottish team has always had, the old Tartan Army's always had some very passionate and good guys. We know we're not going to win. We know we don't have a chance, but the teams are. The players are just there to support the team, support the community, and just have a good time. But we have no hopes and aspirations of winning the World Cup. We never did. It was just a case of turn up and have a good time.
And you did in Boston. Everybody fell in love with you. Everybody fell in love with you. You put the cones on every statue in the city. You drank everything out of town. I mean, they were great. The funny part about it was there's a Double in the Bar in Boston. It's pretty famous, and when the Scots were in, they spent a lot of time there. And then when they left and the English came in, went to the bar, the bar was closed. They closed it on the English.
Yeah, they will do if it's a Dubliner bar. Yeah, that's most definitely.
They said we wanted to give our staff a day of rest because the Scots are pretty rowdy.
Well,
in
exuberant.
A good way. Yeah, exuberant, rowdy. That's rowdy. Making noise and loud is rowdy. I mean, it's not necessarily a vicious rowdy, but rowdy. Don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. One of the most famous, one of the most famous Scottish people, Rowdy was his name.
Oh, was it really?
Rowdy Roddy Piper, the wrestler.
Oh, God, yeah, I used to love him.
He's from Glasgow.
Is he really?
He was from Glasgow, yeah, apparently. Yeah. Or Glasgow, Scotland, as it used to be announced on WrestleMania.
Don't tell me you were a wrestling fan.
When I was a child.
Oh, a child. I've grown up now.
I've grown up now, yeah.
Get out of here.
When I was about 14, 13, I didn't. It was kind of different. It was much more glitz and glam, the American wrestling, the WWF and all that. From what we had over here, our wrestling was a kind of different feel, a bit more kind of earthy and poor.
It was fun. The WWF we used to love. I mean, my son and I used to go when because he was small, so I'd be probably in my 20s, maybe even later. And yeah, we used to watch all the matches. And you had Rowdy Papa. Yeah, I mean, you had all the great names. They all, they all had their stick and everything. Oh, remember they had the British Bulldog too.
Yes, Davy Boy Smith.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun. I used to love that. It's not the same anymore. I watch it a couple of times just to see what's happening, and not the same, unfortunately. But anyway, all right. So, Stephen, what pub are we in?
We are in tonight the Drovers Inn in Inverary.
And where?
Inverary.
Inverary.
Sorry, not Inverary. Well, let's just say on the side of Loch Lomond, close to the sides of Loch Lomond.
Oh, that's what we talked about last time we were in the pub.
It was, yeah. That's why I brought it in. It was tied in with what Steve was talking about last time.
Right.
So the Drovers Inn quite literally was an inn for drovers. If you don't know what a drover is,
No.
It's people who drove cattle, as
Oh,
in
that makes sense. Yeah.
driving cattle. So they're the ones that would take the farmers' cattle along walkways and roadways in the 17th century and take them from like maybe one set of farming fields to another, or take them like 20, 30 miles along these roads to go to market and things like that. That's what a drover did.
Were they drinking cows? I mean, yeah, I know that that didn't
They're
sound
Scottish
right.
cows, so of course they're drinking
They're
cows.
drinking, yeah.
Yeah. So it's-
No milk
no,
cows or beef
yeah.
cows. Or...
no milk, no party. So, and this is actually one of the most famous haunted hotels in Scotland. And it's actually not Inverary, sorry, in Inverarnon. It's a place called Inverarnon at the top end, at the very north end of Loch Lomond. And it's well over 320 years old, the pub itself, and it has 5 legendary ghosts that are linked to the establishment. But essentially, this is a place where drovers would stop overnight to rest, secure the cattle, then get them the next day and head back on down to whatever place they were going to. So there's 5 different haunted accounts within the Drovers Inn at Inverarnon.
5 different ghosts?
Five different ghostly accounts, yeah, and they span quite a distance of time up to a modern one as well. And
Really?
the last one, we'll come to that one. It sounds more like a spirit than a ghost, but we'll see what they take from it. So the first one ties back to 1792, when there was a crofting family that was evicted from their home during the Highland clearances, and they were travelling south in winter weather and ended up taking a wrong turn and froze to death just a short distance away from the safety of the inn. And apparently, over the years, in room 2 of the Drovers Inn, guests report waking up with sudden ice cold temperatures, and some people have claimed to see a family standing at the foot of their bed looking for shelter, looking to try and warm up.
Wow. So you mentioned something about they were driven out by what? What was that?
The Highland clearances.
Yes, please.
Ooh, that's a very topical subject. The Highland clearances was essentially, it was where the tenant farmers in Scotland that happened between the middle of the 1700s to the 1800s. It's where the people who looked after the farms were called crofters in the Highlands and Islands. So between that 110 years, wealthy landowners from England and in Scotland wanted to maximise profits by giving the land over to sheep and deer farming. So tens of thousands of people were forcibly displaced from the Highlands of Scotland, evicted out of their homes. Some of them were
generational.
Yeah, an entire generation of farmers and crofters were literally forced out their homes with very little recompense, and basically made homeless and moved into other areas down south and overseas. So it was basically a forced eviction at gunpoint sometimes to try and it was pretty horrible. As I say, some people get forced out their homes. Some of them had their cottages burnt to the ground by the government to stop them returning to them. There was forced immigration where Scottish people were forced overseas into other countries, basically, and away. So yeah, it was a very messy thing. It was a very messy thing at the time.
Stephen, that's horrible, of course, but and every country, and I mean every country has had some type of thing like that where some injustices have been done and thing. I mean, unfortunately that's the other side of the human experience. That it's sad, but we can look back at it and say, okay, that was terrible and everything. At least we can keep it alive as far as our history. And so it doesn't repeat itself. And sometimes it does anyways.
Kind of still happens, but on a very, very small scale, where some crofts and lands in some of the islands are still independently owned by rich landowners, and if they decide to sell up, the families have to move. The families basically are removed from them. It can still happen here.
Yeah, this I mean, we had indentured slaves here, and people had to pay their debts by working for nothing, basically, and and other things as well, not counting slavery, of course. But I mean, look at a woman's vote. They didn't get the vote till really not that long ago when you think about it.
Yeah. It was the same here. The suffragette movement is not that long ago. It's barely 100 years. In fact, I think it's just over 100 years now.
But I mean, everything was different from different times and everything. It's easy to look back once again, but to understand it is really the important thing. Is when these things happen, is to look at it and say, why did this happen? What was the purpose? Which greed is right, but the whole system, as far as even the royalty corruption and all that stuff, was so much. But anyway. All right, so that was ghost number 1.
That was ghost number 1, and that's in room 2. Ghost number 2 is in room 6, and there was a young girl drowned in the River Falach, which is just very close to the inn, while trying to retrieve a doll she dropped into the river. Her body was brought back to room 6 at the inn, and again, once she'd been recovered, that's where her body was laying to rest. Nowadays, people frequently report very freezing, chilled temperatures, doors opening on their own, and the sensation. The worst one is the sensation of a kind of cold, small child's body moving into bed beside them to heat up.
Oh,
yeah, that would be freaky.
Yeah, saw some of my wife's feet.
I was just thinking about my wife's feet as well. Actually, it's so yeah, I'm quite used to that. And anyone who's a cocker spaniel and lets it out in the middle of the night when it's raining knows exactly what that feels like when they get back into their bedroom as well.
Oh, that's funny.
So number 3 was a cattle drover from the 17th century who was a traveller at the inn, and one night he was plied with drink by a rival family, and then they stole his cattle while he was asleep. He was apparently plotting revenge, and the family heard about it, and they caught up with him and they caught up with him and quite brutally murdered him. Apparently, he was hanged. He was murdered. They hung him from the tree outside the inn, and his spirit said to wander the halls and grounds at night. Kind of just generally bemoaning, crying out in anger over everything that was taken from him, and particularly about being betrayed.
Yeah.
So ghost number 3 is one that's apparently been photographed, where guests have captured.
This would be number 4, right?
This would be number 4. Sorry, yes. Sorry, did I say number 3, Ron? Sorry,
you're confusing me. Doesn't take much.
It's getting late here, and I've had a really early, busy day, so I apologise. So sorry, number 4.
I'm sorry to keep you up.
No, not at all. I'm happy to be here. And there's a photograph of a little girl wearing a pink dress in the centre of an image that was actually taken on an iPhone that was captured. I believe it was an iPhone more recently, which was on the main staircase. But there's also been reports over the years of people capturing images, mists and everything on the main staircase as well, but it's now been attributed to a ghostly girl. And the last one, quite a nice one, is there's a long-time patron of the bar who was called George, His ashes were kept on site after he passed. He wished his ashes to be kept at the inn because he loved the place so much. And visitors apparently report an encounter with a lingering spirit sitting in his favourite area of the bar near his favourite chair.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
That's quite a nice one. So that sounds more like a kind of active spirit rather than a repetitive haunting. But yeah, it was quite a nice. It ended on a nice way when I did all my research into it.
Yeah, some of these are there's so many reports of people waking up and seeing spirits standing at the end of their bed. That's one of that's been one of the more popular ones.
Mhm.
And actually, it happened to me at it was the Collinwood in
Oh
New
yeah.
York, and I woke up, I'd taken a nap. Was I sleeping or was I just closing my whatever? I was laying down and I opened my eyes and there was somebody standing there. And I looked at it and looked at it. And I actually called for Ian Kerrigan, who was in the next room, and to come because he was still there. And by the time she got there, he disappeared. But I mean, it was there for that long, and so I understand. Like, if you do wake up, are you in between?
Yeah,
Awake,
sleeping, waking, and
we sleep and wake. Yeah. So I mean, I do understand that bit of it, but it's interesting though because so many reports are that way.
it's also, are you between sleep and waking, or are you between spirit and self? You could look at it from that. So it could be your own spirit sight seeing something that is there.
Hmm.
When we fall asleep, we're at our most vulnerable mentally, spiritually, psychologically. And it's also when we can also tend to experience things, people report out of body experiences, crikey, even things like interdimensional travel, spirit realms, that type of thing. Falling asleep under a tree in a field, waking up to be surrounded by ghosts and spirits and fairies and that type of things.
Hmm. It's so funny you mentioned fairies, because that's what we were going to talk about tonight, the wee people. But I think I'm going to hold that off to next week, if you don't mind. I mean, next month, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Till Steve comes here, because he could bring the aspect of the SPR and so forth, and
that'd be really cool. Yeah.
yeah, so it'd be interesting to see. But that was something I was looking into today quite a bit. Well, I had some thoughts about it. See, I think that's my biggest problem.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. It always gets you into trouble. Not you, it's the royal you. It gets us all into trouble thinking. It's overrated.
I do want to mention something, and I was going to bring it up for Steve, but I'll tell him next week. But I want to tell you too. Last week on the show, we talked about there's a salamander. I think it's called an Axion or something. Steve knows the name. I don't. And I think it's from Mexico. It's one of the oldest studied creatures on Earth as far as laboratory.
The axolotl.
Thank you, dear. Yes, you got it right. So, I mean, so glad you guys can remember this stuff because I can kill the names. Yes. And the interesting thing about it is that, it can lose a limb and it actually grows a new one without any break or anything. It grows the muscles, the bone,
Yes.
the nerves, everything, and
And-
other organs as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's not forget it's cute as hell.
I don't know about that, but whatever.
Oh, there's those wee smiley faces and things.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that gets you. But anyways, the interesting thing about it is some of the cells in the
Axolotl.
salamander are the same cells that we have in our body. So the hospital in Boston is doing research now about the possibility of having humans be able to regenerate limbs.
Yes.
Is it that is so cool, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting, and it's
Because we have the same cells, so it may be possible.
yeah, there will just be some changes somewhere, either in the structure or the function of how these things work quite clearly. And there's been talk about people studying reptiles for their rehabilitation, not rehabilitation, but their regenerative purposes for a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
In fact, it was even touched upon in Spider-Man comics by Stan Lee.
why wouldn't it be?
Yeah. The character, the lizard, Curtis Connors, the doctor, he loses an arm. Is he not trying to regrow his arm? That's how he ends up the lizard.
Huh. But I mentioned it on the second show yesterday with Maureen when Maureen was on it, and uh, how they can regenerate is that their cells somehow make a what's it, a pattern of their legs and so forth. In other words, it's stored. It's a stored pattern. So it's almost like a replicator where you can replicate stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so they're doing that. But Maureen was saying, well, maybe that's why humans have phantom pains in their cut off limbs and stuff. Maybe we have it's that same thing that has in the lizard, that we still have that somehow, that copy in there, and we think we have feeling in a leg that's no longer there, or something, or a pain or a itch or something, and that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Certainly, a lot of the nerve endings that connect through the spinal column, they're all still intact. The only thing that's missing is the end point of the nerve. And I know for a fact that, although I don't have a limb missing, touch wood, don't want one, but in fact, Steve's even way more qualified to talk about this than I am in any way. But all the connective tissue behind the point of amputation is still there. All the nerve endings are still there. It's just we understand the limb's gone, but the nervous system might not fully. So it will still continue to function and act as normal, I would expect.
So maybe that's that same type of thing that allows it to regenerate their legs too, or their limbs, the axilla, whatever it is.
Didn't Semyon Kirlian also take imagery of? I don't know if this was debunked. Semyon Kirlian take imagery of amputated limbs.
Kirlian photography.
Kirlian photography, yeah, and he was also able to show extension of energetic form beyond the point of amputation.
See, that's the thing we'll definitely bring up with Steve on, because there's a lot of debate about that, the scientific evidence.
Yeah, I don't know how evidential it was. I remember it all from when I was a child on things like Arthur C. Clarke and the Unexplained magazines and all this kind of thing. So living aura theory and that type of thing. But I know they did it with a leaf. I'm sure they did it with a hand as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was so many different things like that. We talked about, I think, what was that thing we talked about? I think I talked about the plant talker before, where plants could react to stimuli as well and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of different things that we thought about, and the new age stuff, basically, that scientific evidence is not, if you want to say caught up with it or doesn't believe in it, one or the other. But
I think it becomes difficult when we can scientifically explain something away within the boundaries of the science that we have available to us.
So
that's it's that old chestnut again, is that for example, the Kirlian leaf could be classified as discharge or fluid leaking from the section that was cut, that was then picked up because it would have had some sort of residual matter in it that could have been picked up by it. That's a perfectly scientific explanation for it, and it's entirely viable. But we only have that narrow band of focus, and all of our science, I believe, is only as good as the focus band that we can apply to it. Until we can widen our scientific band and gain more knowledge and understanding of what we classify as science, then everything else that lies beyond it is theoretically, I suppose, parascience.
Yeah, it is, until it becomes thing. But I mean, there's I was going to say this. Shoots, I can't remember. It was just where you were saying it too. Damn it. It was something about the whatever. It'll come to me, maybe, or maybe not. It really wasn't important. But yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, a lot of things that we looked at, and I mean, but there are a lot of stuff that just we throw stuff out there. They call them theories, but theories can't even be. They're not really theories. They're just thoughts, basically. Okay, this is my explanation of it. It's not really a theory. A theory you can test and to have a result, but you can't do that on some of this stuff. But because they use, like quantum physics, everybody uses quantum physics to explain everything, and most people don't understand quantum physics. Not most people, just about everybody. They take little bits and pieces of quantum physics that fit their argument.
Well, theories are, the whole purpose of a theory is to future predict a phenomena, and that you create a theory, you put it through a process of observing it, adding in any variables, creating a framework of something to go off of, test it, and then refine it based on new evidence. So a theory should be a cyclical process. It should continuously feed into itself. It shouldn't just be once you've made a decision, that's the end of it. It should then feed back into the start and see how and if that process can be improved upon. So whenever I come up with theorizing, I always see it as a cyclical process. It should continually feed itself. And realistically, unless you have a direct end game and you choose to finish it at that point you're no longer doing a theory. You're now on to your perception of what you think is happening, and that then becomes tainted and biased by your own objectivity of what you're seeing.
Sure. Which is, I mean, there are now even like you told those 5 stories about the end, the pub, and you distinguished one of them as a spirit and the others as ghost. That means you have a definition of what you believe a ghost is and what a spirit is, right?
It's already biased.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is in reality, scientifically, we don't know what a ghost is or a spirit is. As a medium, you are sure that a spirit is this because that's your reality, right?
Yep, that's my experience of it. Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, you could be batshit crazy and that's still your reality.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. I never doubt that. And I think I always say that from a mediumistic perspective, I'm my own harshest critic, because whenever anytime I do a platform or a what do you call them?
Now you got me.
I know. Sorry, it's catching tonight. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Whenever we do platform or a presentation of mediumship or anything, after it's done, I always go back and review it and think what went right, what went wrong. Did I make a mistake? Did I cover my ass at some point? Did I have to drop out of mediumship to make something work? Did I have to dismiss someone? How did I know it was them? How did I know the message was going to the right person?
So 1,000 questions.
There's 1,000 questions, and they're all perfectly normal. Because it's what we also have to remember is that mediums are just people.
We got to go now.
Okay. We'll come back on that.
Yeah, we will. You're listening to Ghost Chronicles, the International Pub Edition, with Stephen Scott and in spirit, Stephen. What the hell's his name?
Parsons.
There you go. And Ron Kolek. And we'll be right back after the following messages right here in the TogiNet and PowerX broadcasting system.
Do you have a paranormal event, book, or something else you want people to know about? Then why not advertise it on Ghost Chronicles Radio? With over 150,000 downloads a month, get your message out to an audience that's interested in the subject. We have a plan at a cost that fits your needs. For more information, contact Ron Kolek at anyghostproject@comcast.net or call 978-455-6678.
shadow on the wall that looks like a man. Lord, that lamp just moved on that stand. I got movement in the cellars, I got footsteps in the hall. There's no time to waste, I better make some calls. I gotta get ready, make everything right, 'cause all my rowdy friends are ghost hunting tonight. Hey, round up the team, let's get started. Hey, this is Brother Mike. There's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are ghost hunting tonight. This old house has a long history. It should be real good for activity. And we got the house wired for sound and got motion alarms setting all around. Got a box full of batteries ready to go, and everyone's itching to start this show. Got our logo tees, driving black SUVs, and that one bald guy with a slick goatee. Hey, round up the team. Let's get started. Hey, this is Brother Mike. Well, there's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are ghost hunting tonight. Hey, round up the team. Let's get started. Hey, this is your big brother Mike calling. There's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are ghost hunting tonight. That's right. Go get 'em, boys!
Explore the seasons of the witch by way of magical spells and practices for each turn of the wheel of the year. Magic for All Seasons offers a fresh approach to a lifestyle that focuses on mind, body, and spirit in the nature-based way that our ancestors practiced throughout the ages. Starting with Samhain, author Marla Brooks, an experienced and long-time magical practitioner, explores the 8 Wiccan and pagan Sabbats that comprise the traditional Wheel of the Year, while incorporating original spells, recipes, incantations, meditations, and more that enhance the magic of each season. Oh, and be forewarned, this book is dedicated to Marla's great-grandmother Sophie, and a powerful witch she was. You'll run into her throughout the book. So don't be surprised if you feel someone looking over your shoulder. It's only Sophie, wanting to say hello.
Wasn't sure if you were going to take this back or not, but I should have asked you to.
No,
Yeah.
I'm good, Ron. You go for it.
You're listening to Ghost Chronicles, the public edition with Stephen Scott and Ron Kolick and Stephen Parsons in spirit. And we're brought to you by Circles of Wisdom, 386 Merrimack Street, Methuen, Massachusetts. Our very good friends on Ghost Chronicles Radio on Patreon who help make this possible. So anyways, before the break, do you have a thought you were finishing up?
Yeah, I've forgotten it.
Yeah, me too. That's, it's so interesting. Anybody that hangs around me ends up with that, where they can't finish their thoughts. They can't.
Yeah.
I think I have some influence on people. I don't know what it is.
I sometimes find that when I speak as well, a lot of it, particularly when I'm talking about spiritual matters and things like that, a lot of it is kind of, if I use the term, inspired speech,
from the heart, right?
Yeah, it's coming from the heart, or it's coming from elsewhere. It may be slightly channeled. I don't know. But as soon as I interrupt that thought process, it shuts down. So it's I've often had I've gone up on a platform and I've given um, my philosophy talks, and I've had to record some. I mean, I always record my philosophy section when I'm up on platform because invariably after the service or anything, I have no idea what I talked about. And I listen back to it and I think he's quite an erudite, educated fellow. That I wonder who that is. This is me, and I'm like that makes no sense whatsoever. But so I think a lot of what we do when we start working on this, and it's a bit later at night here, my brain's switching off. It's been a busy day, so I'm kind
I
of
get
speaking more from the heart, from the soul kind of thing here. So yeah, it's very easy when we fall into that space. A bit like falling asleep and seeing people in front of you, the mind starts to fall asleep and the real kind of spiritual discussion begins later.
You know what? That's the way a radio show should be, though. It should be that way, spoken from the heart and from the,
Oh yeah.
a passion and not just a cold thing or trying to look good or whatever. So
Hmm.
anyway, one thing I did want to mention is that so many reports of ghosts and spirits and everything else are basically eyewitness reports. And if you ask them, well, this goes, you can go right across the whole thing of paranormal, whether it cryptids or Bigfoots or whatever, aliens. It's always going to be. I know what I saw, and I know in
Hmm.
Steve's book Paravision he talks about this, but it's true. Speaking about that, there goes the. I don't know if you can hear that.
I can hear the X-Files, yeah.
Yeah, X-Files. That's my ringtone on my phone, which I forgot to put in the drawer. Uh, anyways, the yeah, so they always say I know what I saw, but we are the worst witnesses. I want to give. I'm a very, very, and I'm not bragging, but I know I am very observant person. I can see things that are out of place. I can, I'm very much
Hmm.
movement or whatever. And I had, I had this Monday. I go to church on Monday and Thursday mornings. I try to, anyways. It's a morning mass. It's like a half hour. It's usually not many people there. It's a quiet time, so it's good. So
Hmm.
I like to go. So I went on Monday and I sat in one pew and it's pretty sparse. So across from me, where I usually sit, it's like somebody was sitting in my seat, was somebody I know very very well. And I walked in and I went by him and I sat in my pew and everything and during mass. And then I went over and I remember seeing him. He was all dressed up in a white shirt and a blue tie. And I was going to ask him, I says, where you going after, all dressed up? Well, by the time mass was over and I looked at him, he had a white shirt on, but it wasn't a dress shirt. It was just pulled out of his pants and he had a green t-shirt underneath.
Right.
Yet I would swear to you, Stephen, that I saw him in a white dress-up shirt with a blue tie, very distinct. I mean, I know exactly what I saw.
Hmm.
Or do I? Isn't that interesting, though? I mean, that we can
Yeah.
be so sure about something and yet be so wrong.
Well, there's no guarantee that you weren't correct. I mean, it's at some point in the proceedings, it could have been too warm. He could have
Oh, no,
changed
no, I
himself
talked to him.
slightly.
I mean, we're only talking a few feet away from each other. We're
Right,
not,
right. Well,
we're not talking like 4 feet, maybe. And
yeah.
I talked to him after, and I told him what I saw. I says, I swear that you. And of course, he said to me, I think you've been seeing ghosts again.
It's possible, or you saw an overlay of him. I mean, maybe you. That
Is this a dimensional thing, maybe?
I was just about to say that you could have seen a cross-dimensional thing where you maybe saw a future or a past version of himself
That's so weird, huh?
overlaying on top of himself. It could,
Mm.
or you could have seen. Going to sound very strange here, well, but maybe not to us. But you could have seen that the image that he would have rather have portrayed, but maybe didn't have time to. So
Hmm.
nobody wants to turn up to church or
Oh yeah, we're
mass
Catholics.
looking
In
bad,
the
and
in the
perhaps he was.
U.S., we wear shorts and everything else. I mean, they're pretty
Yeah,
laid
but
back
I'm
now.
talking about how we would prefer to appear to people. Maybe
Oh, I
he had
see
a
what you're
desire
saying.
to appear
Yeah,
as and I'm not saying he wasn't an upstanding professional person,
right.
but maybe
So
that's how he wanted to
I
appear.
might
So
want to appear like Tom Cruise, or you know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where you shrink 3 feet and you know, Yeah, but it's entirely possible that you were seeing some sort of projection that he was projecting outwards as well, based on, what he perceives himself to be, or you were seeing some sort of psychic emanation from him that you were picking up upon.
Oh, it's a
Excuse me, I don't know what I just said there. You were picking up upon. Oh, nope, up on. Sorry, I'm stumbling with words tonight.
That's good. That's fine. You one of me now.
We are legion.
Maybe it's just a glitch in the matrix.
It could have been. Yes, it could just be a glitch in the matrix. Maybe they were changing the batteries.
I got to ask you this. So you grew up in Scotland?
Yes.
Okay. So your language is like so natural to you, right? Everybody spoke that way, and so there was no other way to speak, right?
Yes, I suppose so.
So I'm just thinking, because I like if I try to speak Scottish and a true Scottish vernacular, I can't. I can't even come close. And it's so natural for you because you grew up with it that it's a learned trait that we have.
Mhm.
And it's the same with like Spanish. The Spanish, they can roll their R's. It's like, how the hell did he do that? I tried that so
Yeah.
many times, I could never do it. And they talk so fast and they're able to do stuff. It's like it's so cool. So if there was reincarnation, would we be able to speak? For instance, if a Scottish man reincarnated into me, and I was in the United States, and would I start speaking Spanish? I mean, Scottish, not Spanish.
Yeah, I think now. I think I'm not a
Yeah, this is just
psychologist
talk,
on this.
that. Yeah.
So there's something called the chameleon effect.
Mhm.
So the chameleon effect is where we adopt mannerisms, attitudes, and seek social membership to make communication easier, basically. So
Okay.
what that means is that, for example, if I were to move to New England,
Mhm.
20 years down the line, a lot of my mannerisms, my social norms, the way I conduct myself, I would change what I do to fit in, which is where we start to pick up accents and everything from. Is it's a way of
wait too, Scott, Stephen.
Yeah, true. So it's a method by which we gain social acceptance and then become part of that social culture. So we try to mimic it. I'm sure it's called the chameleon effect.
No, it's pretty cool, actually.
And so that would mean that if you were Spanish in your past life and you were reincarnated into someone living in New England, the fresh body you've got, you may have memories and flashbacks from that. You may have a natural affinity for the Spanish language, but within this physical body, under the terms of the chemical reactions in your brain and the need to be accepted socially, you will change your voice and your mannerisms or as you grow up to seek that social norm. So you will become the same sounds of your environment. In Scotland, and actually in every country, we have we can have local dialects that are 20 miles apart. And how someone speaks and says things from a place 20 miles away can be very different to how they speak locally. And I'm sure it's the same everywhere. And that's another example of that, where small townships developed. And in order to accomplish that sense of community and that social norm, people develop their own habits and their own mannerisms. And that's why these things are there. I believe it's an adaptive, a bit like the axolotl. It's an adaptive response for our own preservation.
But
so that we're not seen as the outsider.
It's also, in addition to a location thing, it can also be a time thing, where you say things like, I mean, I say, what do I say? Tonic. I call soda pop or what, I don't know what it's called. It's Coke, whatever it is, is tonic, because that's the way it is. And there are a bunch of other words that I use that somebody from a different generation, even in the same area, would never use. I don't even know what you're talking about half the time. So that's a time thing versus a location thing. But it's still, you're right. I think you're absolutely right.
I can give you a real world example of this.
I like
that is literally a 2 miles separation, but a massive separation at the same time. As you know, I teach martial arts,
Yes, you
and I
do.
teach martial arts to kids and adults. About a year and a half ago, okay, one of the kids in my class was about to move from what we call primary school to secondary school, the academy. So it's the
Mhm.
equivalent. I don't know what that is in America. Before you get to university and before you leave very early education. So they were 12, coming up on going into 13, 14-year-old education.
Okay.
And they spoke very well. And we would be having a conversation like this, and they would be saying something along the lines of, I'm enjoying my training and the training is going well. And there are certain things that I understand and certain things I don't understand. And I enjoy doing these activities and I don't enjoy doing these activities. Within a year of being at the school, I was having a chat with them the other day and I had to tell them, do you know you've used the word like about 14
Yep.
times in the last minute? And what they said was, so I'm like I'm like still enjoying the class, like, but there's like
Yep.
these like techniques are a
Mhm.
bit kind of difficult, like the technique that like the one we did. And I was like, you continually using the word like. That's because that's now the social norm. That's how people talk at this more senior level school. They use
Mhm.
these more kind of urban styles of communication.
Yep.
And she has now adapted into that to seek social acceptance from the people around about her. That's the chameleon effect immediately, straight away. And that's only
Yeah.
about a mile away from where she lives. The school's only about a mile away from where she lives. So while her mannerisms haven't changed, her vocabulary has changed completely. And the method by which she expresses herself has actually dumbed down.
Mhm.
So where she would use good vocabulary and good words, she's now replacing a lot of the words with like. So
Mhm.
we're like here and they're like there, and like we don't know where we are. And I'm like, I have no idea what you just said to me. It's like none of that. It makes sense to them because that's how they communicate. That's
Yep.
their, and again, that's that adaptive ability to try and stay. And that can come across spiritually as well,
Oh, that's
where
interesting.
uh, where in order to get a message across, a spirit entity, when it comes through in a mediumistic perspective, this is where this is well, it actually works in inverse, is that I've had spirit communication that's used older language to place them in time. So rather than using modern construction
Oh,
metaphors, I've
would they use modern language if they were of that time?
no, that's it exactly. So they place
So
themselves in
why would you
time,
expect them to use modern language?
but the recipient expects to hear it in modern language.
Oh, how I get it. How I get
And
it.
that's where the chameleon effect in mediumship can be detrimental, because in order to place themselves, they place themselves there. But the recipient might not understand what you're trying to say because a different term is used. Um, and
Mhm.
that can be difficult sometimes. So it can actually work in inverse as well. So that, but at the same time, spirit can then choose to bring that up to a more modern vocabulary by re-expressing it because they are working. I'll use the term out with or alongside the kind of
Mhm.
timeline of events. So when spirit want to get a message across, if they want to give me a timeline, they can sometimes present that with that vocabulary
Mhm.
or words, or they can then bring the message up to date if they choose to do so. But if the process is that that individual needs to look back on themselves to when they were at that period in their life that maybe something happened and that's what they haven't dealt with yet, and that spirit are trying to help them with, they may choose to keep the language in that time frame to keep the recipient's mind in the past.
I get it. I know that, like, when I worked with Maureen a lot, she would trans channel that
Mm-hmm.
her voice would change and her expressions would change as well. In other words, her language would change uh, a lot. So is that the same type of thing? Only instead of going through you mentally, they're going through
They're channeling
her
direct,
physically.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I've done some trance channeling at a few churches once before. It was a development thing, and I got an American coming through. I got an
Did you
American.
really?
Yeah, it was the strangest thing. I got. I can't remember all the details now, but it was a very old American. They used words like preacher, for example, and it was recorded. I didn't remember any of it. I remember I remember hearing the recording back, and they were talking about something about the message tonight. The preacher was right with their message and that kind of thing. And there's a slightly different intonation in my voice that I couldn't place. I don't know where it was. Um, it was either that or I was doing my best Sam Rockwell impression. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, so it was a very strange experience. So I can understand that perfectly well, where spirit can attempt to use you to manipulate, particularly if you're someone who has the ability to easily alter their voice or accent or whatever. Spirit find that very useful because that allows you to adopt voices, accents, and mannerisms. However, on the flip side of that, science will then say, "Yeah, but you're just acting, and you're good at it." So, but at the same time, why would spirit not use something you're good at to get a message across?
Well, the thing is, that's, you bring about science, but you bring that works for so many people in themselves, where the farther they get away from an incident, the more they rationalize it and basically, I mean, for instance, I think it was in 2007 we did an investigation. It was for a TV show, actually. It was American Builder, of all places, was a Halloween special, of course. They gave us a construction worker and dropped us off by boat on this lighthouse out in the middle of the water for the night. And we went out and did some investigating and all that stuff. And, actually, the thing won an Emmy in 2007. So, but anyways, the owner of the show, who did the editing and everything else on it, he was telling us that, that when he was editing it, the thing in the bay, that the lights were going off in the other parts of the building, that people were hearing weird noises from the thing, all this weird stuff that was going on. And they scared the hell out of him. And yet, when eventually, this is years later, we met him and we were writing a book about it or something. Actually, I got two stories mixed up here. It was another incident, but that's fine. Anyways, it's the same thing. It was another TV show. But anyways, the same thing. And he said, "Well, Ron, I saw he was scared shitless of Maureen in her trans channeling." And he says, "Well,
I've just found it on YouTube."
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I'll be watching that later.
I don't know if you want to. It's TV.
Of course it is.
Real,
that's
though.
why I want to watch it.
It's real though. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they portrayed it pretty good. It was interesting, but the whole thing, he says, "Well, yeah, I just saw that you were giving Maureen all the cues." So he just totally rationed around. He says she was just mimicking what you you said or what you cued. It's like, oh, please. I mean, he was, when we talked to him the first time, he was scared shitless on it. But anyway,
Yeah, that's what as I mean, it's like, yeah, the further you get, as you said, the further you step back from what actually happened, the more you try to rationalize events, and that's why in paranormal research, it's really important to speak to people right away. You
yeah,
know, absolutely right away, because the further they get from it, even a comment from someone, you don't believe in that nonsense, do you? That immediately changes
yeah,
their rationale, and they start to convince themselves it didn't happen, and then and for some people, depending on how people react to it psychologically, if they get a lot of support for it, it can start to grow what we call arms and legs, and it can start to become a story in and of itself. So yeah, it's really important to get there effectively, that kind of immediate, as close to that point as you possibly can where it actually occurs. Yeah, so that they don't get that distance.
That's why Steve was so good. What he did is that his group, when he was sent it out, that they would all have their own notebook with them, and they wrote everything down. So everything they experienced, they wrote down. So it was definitely recorded at the time. It wasn't somebody else transcribed or anything. They wrote it, so it was to write it as it happened. What it happened, it just. Are you kidding me?
Oh, wow.
What the hell?
Yeah, we are.
What the hell?
Time slip.
Yeah. It could have been. Did you ever experience a time slip? Speaking of that,
I have done, yes.
me too.
Yeah, strangest thing. Lost I've lost anywhere between 10 minutes to an hour to 2 hours. It's not alcohol related, unlike the Scottish football supporters. This is genuinely where I've sat down, blinked, opened my eyes, and an hour's gone, and I didn't fall asleep. I just was somewhere else.
When I was doing my show originally for WNDS, I was at a production meeting on the other side of Drake, and we were I left the meeting at I can't remember the time now, but it's say at 10 o'clock at night, and I drove home. And when I got home, I looked at the clock, and it was 11:10. So it should have taken me about 10 minutes. So it was like an hour that didn't make sense. In fact, I was so like, huh? I called up Bob, who was with me, rest his soul, and I said, "What time did I leave your house?" He said, "Oh, around 10 o'clock." So
Jeez.
it's like I have no idea on that one. I checked my butt. I wasn't probed, so that's a good thing.
Could have been a small probe.
It could have been. Maybe I got an implant I don't know about. It must be impeding my speech, I'm sure.
Remote control.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you very much for joining me today, and we wish Steve the best of luck.
We do. Yep.
Yeah, because that kind of
hope he's safe and well.
I can't believe how many people from the UK are transplanted all over the world. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it happened a lot.
I got a new show coming on Power X from a guy from the UK living in Transylvania.
Oh, wow. Okay, that sounds interesting.
All right, we got to go. Good night, everyone. As they say, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And thanks for listening to Ghost Chronicles, the pub edition with Stephen Scott and myself. Good night. God bless and stay safe.
Good night, everyone.
From ghoulies to ghosties, long-leggedy beasties, and things that go bump in the night. Deliver us, good Lord.
That was pretty good.